That in this emergency that we're in, I think that behooves artists to come out and speak for Kamala against Donald Trump, because he is an existential threat to the country. What do you say to that?
You know what? I don't get too deep into politics. I didn't get a chance to watch the debate last night. I obviously have been watching like everybody else. I think voting is an individual choice. And I think that you're right. You have to look at the reality of the country that we are and the country that we want to be, and find the candidate that you feel both are who fits the category of where we want to be. And that's it. And that's what you vote based off of, who you highlight and how you choose to highlight it on whatever platform you have is your prerogative.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, that's right. Really, you know.
So yet again, we have another situation where you have another person who's black and famous being asked a particular question, and yet again it's also about Kamala Harris. Now, if you remember, I recently did a video talking about Angel Reese, in which they tried to bait her into the whole Kamala Harris thing, much in the same vein that Joy Behar just did, but they were just on two different platforms. Of course, Angel Reese, hers was after a basketball game, and here with Usher, he's on The View, where they was asking her about Kamala Harris, and she basically gave the same response, like, I'm not too deep into politics like that, and I don't want to like say anything wrong or anything like that. I'm still learning, and all, you know, what she's, if you saw the video, you know exactly what she said. Now let's fast forward to The View, where Usher was being interviewed, and Joy Behar basically tried to bait him in the same exact way when it comes to Kamala Harris, and saying, you know, we need Kamala Harris and we need celebrities to use their voice. Basically, she was asking Usher, were you going to support her or vote for her or endorse her? Probably much in the same vein like some other celebrities have done, like Taylor Swift recently did. See, they're trying to galvanize as many celebrities as they can, because they know for a fact that a lot of black people on the grassroots level aren't supporting her. And they figured, you know what, if we can get some black people who are famous, like an Usher, who had one of the best years last year and is still, you know, reeling off of the Super Bowl and still touring right now, maybe we can get some black people to follow right behind him. And I'm glad Usher gave the response that he did, much like in the same tone that Angel Reese did. And ironically, both of them happen to be black and very relevant right now. And they figure they have the eyes and ears of the black community at large. And I'm glad that Usher gave the response that he did. He said, pick the candidate you feel will best suit you when it comes to this election cycle. That was a very good response to give. But what I wanted to really point out, though, is that while his response was very, very true in nature, look at how Joy Behar looked at him as if he gave the response that she did not want to hear. Like, her tone completely switched up. Like, look at how she's looking at him, and then really pay attention to how she looked at him at the end. Like, and what she said, she was like, yeah. Like, she was like, okay, we can't use him. Let's bring in the next person that we think we can sway into voting for this woman, or getting him or her to at least say I support her, so we can get more and more people to be on her side or be on our side. Remember, they did that same thing with Hillary back in 2016, and how did that turn out? It didn't work in her favor. And what they're scared of is that that same thing is going to happen again with Kamala Harris, that they get all these people to galvanize and support her, all these celebrities, all these entertainers and famous people to support her, and the turnout is still the very exact same way. That's what they're afraid of. They don't want that to happen again, especially when they think about the person she's running up against, which is Donald Trump. They really don't want him back in the White House for whatever reasons that they personally have. It is entirely on them. But I'm so glad that Usher gave the response that he did. He said, pick the candidate you think best benefits and suits you as the individual. Don't play the go along to get along game. And that's exactly how this thing should be ran. Don't try to be swayed, or don't allow yourself to be swayed by these pundits or these shills, much like how Joy Behar was trying to do in this clip right here. And I thought it was just so disrespectful of her to get upset clearly in her body language and in her tone because Usher said what he said. Notice how quiet the room was when he gave the response that he did. It was not like, oh wow, I can't believe he actually said that. And so the thing is, they think that a lot of celebrities are politically dumb. This was a very smart and intelligent response to give. He didn't jump out the window and say, oh, I'm going to go vote for Kamala Harris. Oh, I'm going to go and vote for Donald Trump. And this is my reasoning as to why. No, he didn't do that. He took his time to really, from what I'm seeing, to sit down and research. And what they are scared of, and I think another thing is that they can't get inside his head as far as who they believe he's going to vote for, who's going to vote for. So they just want to know right up front who he's going to support. And they wanted to become Kamala so bad because they're still in this thing of, oh, she's a black woman, quote unquote. And they're upset because they don't know. And then another thing, and I've said this before, whenever you have a person who says something like what Usher said in this clip, is that they'll take it and run with it as, oh, he's going to go and support Donald Trump. That's not what that means. He says just do your research and pick the candidate that you feel best supports you and whatever it is, whatever benefit that you feel that you have. People get tired of people trying to say, oh, vote one way and vote this way and do this and do that. No, people are going to do whatever the hell they want to. They are grown men and women at the end of the day with their own mind and their own motivation to do whatever it is that they feel is in the best interest of them. At the end of the day, that's really what it's all about. And who knows? For all we know, if we're lucky, people like Usher probably been listening to the new black media. I'm telling you, a lot of these people who are famous out here be listening to us, but they probably just don't want to mention us by name. But that's fine, because we can tell by some of the stuff that they say or just their tone. Who knows? But like I said, Usher is a 40-something-year-old man. He's not going to move and vote on emotion, much like if he was in his 20s or even in as a first-time voter. He's going to take his time to really research who these individuals are. That's probably why they were kind of shook when Angel Reese gave the response she did, because Angel Reese is in her early 20s. She's like, what, 22? So she gave a very grown woman response to that question, to that line of questioning. And they thought they had her because of two things. One, she's young. Two, she's a black woman. So they're trying to get her on that train because Kamala Harris, they're putting out there that she's a black woman, quote unquote, and that she would just be on that train. And they're doing the same thing with Usher because he's a black man. But as you can see, that doesn't work like that. And they're seeing that on a more repeated front, and they're shook by that. I cannot believe that black people aren't supporting this woman the way that we thought they would. Wow, can they actually be waking up politically? That they're not doing the whole identity politics thing right now? That they're actually taking the time out to actually really study and research these candidates to see who they're going to vote for, who is going to benefit them more, who is bringing the better policy to the table, and so on and so forth. They're not doing the Obama thing. That's another thing. They want this to be like Obama. You know how back in 2008, now see Obama, now we can throw the identity politics heavily onto that one because that was a historical election. I can give him that. I know this because that was my first time voting. I had just turned 19 that year. And I was in the HBCU, so it was a very, very big deal at that time. And it was, like I said, it was a historical election. But we've seen the effects of that from not one, but two administrations. Not two administrations, but two terms. And we've learned our lesson from that. We don't want that to happen again unless you are bringing something to the table that is going to specifically benefit Black Americans. And y'all already know what my checklist is. Tangibles and reparations, ending qualified immunity, and an anti-Black hate crime bill. If neither candidate is bringing all three, not one, not two, but all three of those things to the table, You do not get my support. You do not get my vote. That is it. That is all. The end.